Isn't that what you just got through saying was going to happen? Hypocritical reforms would be telling people that they don't have the right to make their own wealth and control their own wealth. This is so weird. Am I real? Things are, I pinch myself. Things are still going on. I think my wife's home at this point. It's about time to wrap this thing up. We got a couple more minutes. I think I'm still real. I'm still here. This is not some weird place or space that I'm stuck in that doesn't exist. This is happening. This contradictory, nonsensical, economically ignorant crap is actually being told and has been being told since 1899.
We are living in an artificially induced state of consciousness that resembles sleep. The poor and the underclass are growing. Racial justice and human rights are non-existent. We have been lulled into a trance. They have made us indifferent to ourselves, to others. We are focused only on our own gain. That is their primary method of survival. Keep us asleep, keep us selfish, keep us sedated.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here's your host, Michael Storm.
And it's Saturday night. We're prime time and worldwide right here on the Republic Broadcasting Network. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram and X and just about everywhere on the internets and the social medias at Toward Anarchy. Wherever you find me, just take that quick second of just a one moment. That's all it takes. Do it right now. Don't wait until later to forget about it, to click that like button. And if you're so inclined, click a share button as well. You can follow along at towardanarchy.com. As always, I have some wonderful things planned out there for you. It's episode number 2525. And when you get to towardanarchy.com, you will see that it's just you and me today. We get to spend some time alone together. I could have had somebody come in. I had a couple of opportunities, but the fact is you know how I am with this stuff. If I can't give you my full attention, I'd rather not give you the attention at all right now, and because we can always come back and do it later, right? And so that's the attitude I have about it. If I'm just so into things and so busy that I just don't feel like I can give you my full attention, I'll put you off. I'll set you to the next week or the week after, and we'll do it again when everything is going in the right direction and all the gears are turning like they're supposed to. So we'll get a chance to dive into a lot of things this week. There's just a ton of things that we could have talked about for sure, but I did pick out a couple of things in particular just to hit on some things that are going on in the news and some things that people are saying that aren't true, and we'll take a look at whatever we can in the time that we have, and we just don't get an opportunity to spend this kind of precious time together. So I'm glad we get to do it this week, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to the next few weeks of shows coming up. We have Dr. Dean Lloyd next week, and then to wrap up the month, we finally get Michael Howell to come in here and chat about a few things. I think we'll talk Epstein. We might talk a little bit Alex Jones. Who knows where that conversation goes, but we definitely have some we'll talk about some Epstein lies. You've heard my position on the thing. You understand that it really makes no difference, that nobody's entitled to know. Only the people that were involved and who have been violated are truly entitled to know. This idea that they want to see a list, that they want to name names, that they want to catch one person or two persons or that person or this person and catch them in a lie, catch them in a place that they're not supposed to be in. That's I don't know what that does. That's what I'm missing in that equation. Okay, fine. So you got the person. You busted them. They're so busted. You got them. They're on the list. Now what? Now, what are you going to do? Who was violated? Who's hurt? Who's asked you to do something about it for them? What do we do about getting them out of office? Are they already gone? Are they even in office anymore? Is there anything that we can do? Is there any evidence that directly points to them actually harming someone, as opposed to just knowing somebody rich and powerful and being on a list of other rich and powerful people? All of these things come into question. None of them solve the problem, and none of them are anything but the squirrel. Whoop, squirrel. That squirrel's name this week is Jeffrey Epstein, and it's not going to be a silver bullet. We already know Trump's name is on the list. We already know that he's friends with Jeffrey Epstein, that he was friends with him over the years. If you need any more information than that to prove that there's something wrong with the guy that was elected or that you elected into office, I don't know what else. I truly don't know what else an individual like him could do, who he could be associated with, how many more people he could rob, how many more lies he could tell people, how many more just anti-American, anti-free market moves that he can make to tell you that he is just another socialist, just another government, just another opportunist, a person taking the opportunity to use government to his advantage to get himself rich. I've told you before, he doesn't care what happens to the country. He doesn't care what he does because he will never have to pay for it, just like the rest of it. He has almost already paid the ultimate price for being who he is. Do you really think that he's scared once he's actually in the power and has the power and has built up the solid base around him of people who just don't care, who 1 minute I point these things out on the Democrats and how they do this to each other and themselves all the time. 1 minute they're supporting a character and a person, and the next minute they're not supporting them, and it only ebbs and flows with their it only goes and ebbs and flows with their political leanings, and that's it. It's entirely about their political positioning, has nothing to do with any particular morality, because their morality is based on what they can get away with, and that's it. And that's kind of what most people's morality breaks down to, but it gets even worse when you have this sort of immoral people that don't care about morality, that don't care about other people, that only care about other people for what they can use them for, and not in any mutual sense. They're literally what they can use. I don't know what more you need of a narcissistic person, the definition of narcissism, the definition of the type of person who would abuse other people to get their power. This is well known about this man for decades and well understood within every single community of any that has ever paid attention to the man, whether it's a television community and the sort of media friendly pop culture position, or whether it's the political position, or whether it's his financial and business positions over the years where he's used the state to compensate his own losses, to rob other people. What kind of man do you think this person is? Was I supposed to be at all surprised to find out that the people in government, that they're criminals and scumbags, and that the only difference between them is the political name associated with them? That's it, and that it's not any fundamental difference, that there's no fundamental difference between the parties when they get into the system, when they are the system. I don't know how many more times you have to be told that, how many more times it has to be explained for it to come across, to get the truth of it. When you can just see it right there in front of your face, and the Republicans, you're a laughing stock right now. If you are a Republican and you're a voter and you voted for Trump and you are still holding on to this idea that he's playing 4D chess or whatever the hell it is, you got some QAnon mixed up signals in your brain, and you think that he's not one of them and that he is something different and that he is this populist candidate, and the reason that he won is because he's going to do good things and he's going to do the right things. I don't know how many bad things, wrong things he has to do, how many anti-conservative things, how many anti-Republican things he has to do to get your dumb ass to wake up that you voted for the wrong guy and that people like me told you this was exactly what was going to happen all along. All along, that there would be no difference. Hey, but to your credit, to your credit as a Republican and to mine as an anarchist, it wouldn't have made a difference. Wouldn't have made a difference which one you voted for. The socialism, the destruction of the nation, it may have been held off in one space, one place over here, one particular instance, one type of political policy or direction. Those things may have changed over there, but nothing fundamentally would have changed. Nothing about government and its fundamental nature would have changed. There's nothing going to change. I can't even repeat it over and over again because it just sounds dumb at some point. Do us all a big favor here and support Republic Broadcasting. Go to republicbroadcasting.org, and over on the left-hand side there is this wonderful little button that you can click, and it just says donate right on it. There's no, it's nothing special. It's no big surprise. It's nothing you have to dig around and look for. There's magical words or anything. It just simply says donate. It stands out. It's over on the left-hand side. Just click that bad boy, and within a couple of clicks, you are on your way to supporting the network. One time, a recurring donation, whatever amount, it's all up to you. You control it. Otherwise, you can give us a call, 800-724-2719, extension 3, to talk to somebody about ways that you can support the network, or just mail that check. If you're ready, you know what you need to do, and you're ready to sign on the check with that money order, send it to RBN 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas 78664. And just to thank you for it. There's also alternatively the win-win situation where you visit shoprbn.com. You support the advertisers continue to advertise on the network. I continue to be able to come here and bring you this fantastic primetime show every Saturday night, and a fantastic live show that's happening on Thursdays. For now, we're working to move it. We're working to get more time, but it's an entirely live show hosted by yours truly, alongside Dr. Dean Lloyd, who is facilitator and healer. You know him well. He's been on this show at least once a month for the last, 3 years, maybe more. It's been a while. It's been a long time. I've had a lot of conversations with Dr. Lloyd, and he's a really great guy, and he really just wants to see people be healthy and happy, and it's great that I'm able to do that. It's called Your Health and Mine. It's Thursday afternoons, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Republic Broadcasting Network. And as I say, it's myself and Dr. Dean Lloyd, and we are live, and we take your calls and we answer your questions. We've been talking to people all across Texas, all across America, all around the world. We've had conversations with people across the pond, just answering health questions, whatever it is. We sort of have our little agenda, something that we want to talk about going in, but it's open phones. It's a total open phones thing, and you can jump in with any of those conversations or comments about the medical industry, about your healthcare needs and concerns, whatever it is. So that's happening Thursdays, 1 p.m. Central Time, right here on Republic Broadcasting Network, and we couldn't do it without you, so thank you for supporting the network. TowardAnarchy.com, as I say, to follow along, and again, you're looking for episode 2525. And there's a couple of different things that I want to talk about. I want to talk about Stablecoin and just this congressional passage of the first crypto legislation here in America, and it's as useless as you would think it would be. And we'll take a look at that, and we'll talk about some different aspects of that and cover as much of it as we can tolerate dealing with and talking about, because it gets a little bit old. It's like the Trump thing. It's like the government in general. From the anarchist perspective, it's old. It's tiring. I get tired of having to point out examples of failure and where those examples of failure would not be so bad if they weren't socialized, if they weren't through government, if some scumbag hadn't taken the power that you've given him, the magical powers that you didn't have as an individual, but somehow you can give to him through the collective, and have given him power to alter people's lives and choices and our reality in some ways. And I just don't know how many more ways I could tell you that that's not going to work, that it's never going to work, that it's never worked in the past, that the best that they ever came up with is now the worst that it could possibly get. We're just this shy of ultimately a sort of complete lockdown system like they have in China, where almost everything is controlled by the state. I mean, the Defense Department buying into steel, there's so many examples of this here just recently under Donald Trump, where they're making all these moves to have golden tickets or golden shares, I should say. That's what they really call it, golden shares. It's a golden ticket to do whatever the hell you want, especially when it's government, but it's golden shares within certain industries. And what that does is it allows them to make final decisions. So they may not have the bulk of the shares in a company like a steel company, like major steel manufacturers or major rare earth manufacturers or something along those lines, and the government comes in and it buys a small share, but it guarantees things. One of the things that it's talking about with the steel industry here is that it will not have any competition. It's the rare earth magnets. They won't have any competition. That's the one that I most recently saw complete detail about, or some detail about what they actually intended to do with it, and having the sort of protections and ownership in these industries, and they're sort of guaranteeing these industries that they won't have competition. Well, that right there obviously is a failure of an entire idea of the market, and then letting the best come to the surface and work their way to the surface by providing the best prices, providing the best product, but providing the best services. These necessarily can't be accomplished if government guarantees that this industry never has to lower its prices, regardless of what everyone else in the world does. So it's economically it's dubious at best, we could say. And this is kind of where we find ourselves with a lot of what's happening in industry and through the government, and shows exactly what I'm saying about how it's not getting any better. We should be going in the opposite direction of the state owning critical services. That's the critical services, critical industries. This is the opposite of what a free state does, what free people do. We are going backward in America, or downhill, however you want to look at it, and it's been downhill from day one. The peak of freedom was before the Constitution came along, before the Bill of Rights, before all of these recognitions of citizens and rights and different types of people and giving privilege to certain people, instead of all of us being treated the same and all of us working together under a free system where the only power that the government really has is to put itself in check and to question itself when it comes to trying to violate other people for its laws or for the things that it claims that we as a people can't do, because it just magically has this power to do it. So we have all of these different things to talk about. That's just one particular aspect of it, because the economy is just one of the things that they're messing around in. I brought you some CIA stuff last week. The CIA now is revealing more of its connections to Lee Harvey Oswald, and these advertisements up in here are just going to piss me off, and I'd just like to punch somebody right in their damn face. I just don't even understand. This page was already loaded. It was already up there. I had already moved to a certain point, and all of a sudden, because I went away from it for a second, I didn't close it, I didn't do anything. It's just still sitting there. It shouldn't be moving. It shouldn't be active. It shouldn't be doing anything without me interacting with it. Do you people who make websites not understand this? That I don't need you to run the website for me, to find the information for me? That when you do that, that you're limiting my choices and you're ruining what I can do to understand? Look, I can't even get this thing in this screen. You're sitting here watching it with me. I can't even get this thing. Now it just randomly, I didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything, didn't interact with the page, just rolled it up and down. It doesn't even know that it's a dumb website. They're all supposed to be. It doesn't even know that I'm still on the page. So it's just doing random things that have been programmed into it, whether somebody's watching it or not. What's the point of that? What's the point of that? And what's the point of when an advertisement pops up there on the screen, that there's so much advertisement and so much empty space up here not being used that I can't even read the name of the article that I'm trying to get to? If you scroll back, if you happen to catch this on YouTube or something like that, or on Rumble, and you want to roll it back and you look and you see exactly what was happening, that I couldn't even see the goddamn article title because of the stuff that's popping up and going on in the background without me even looking at the page. It's ridiculous. It's just stupid. And it's what look, there it goes again. See right there. Just this big thing where you can't even get the title. You have to get in here and you have to scroll and grab a hold of it, and it still doesn't even fit because there's so much advertisement and other crap on the page. And the advertisement doesn't scroll with the rest of the page. You scroll under it until it decides it wants to go ahead and show you something else. It's ridiculous. And I got news for you web developers. This all ties in, the CIA thing and the web developer stuff. It all ties into stuff that I've been talking about here for the last few weeks, but in particular with the technology and the AI. Here's the thing. You had your chances, websites, to do what was right and to not put garbage and crap and pop-ups and this, that, and the other thing in front of people. You've had all this time to correct it, and now it doesn't matter because now your website gets scraped by AI and nobody even visits your website. That's what happens. They go and they type in a question. They want to know something about the CIA, and they want to know about the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Lee Harvey Oswald. And they want to know all about that. You know what they're going to look at instead of your website, instead of your article, because of this garbage right here? They're going to look at the AI. You can't. Who wants to go to a website and fish around on the website and try to figure out how to see just the title of the article because you have so many advertisements up there, and you can't even put the advertisements in line, so I just scroll past them. No, hell no. They have to pop over everything. If you've got a commercial going on or a broadcast going on there, MSNBC, CBS, CNN, CBS, Fox, whoever it is, and you want me to see that, how about this? How about just show me that it's going on somewhere instead of popping it up in the middle of the screen over what I'm trying to read? How about that? How about stop trying to shove stuff down my throat, and then maybe we don't need to find technology to go through and weed through all the garbage and crap that you put out there to get the information that we need. It's serious. I shouldn't have to rant about this stuff. I shouldn't have to worry about whether or not I'm looking at a web page, whether or not I can read what's on the web page because it's covered up by some advertisement. Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous, and you're paying for it now. All you news sites, it's definitely with news sites. They just got to shove whatever story, whatever they think is the most important thing down your throat. It can't be just about you coming to, here's my website, come visit it, here's all the information like I do every week and have for decades now at this point, not just the 6 years that I've been doing this particular show. I say, you know what, here's my website, it's no frills, it's no BS. BS. I don't ask you for anything. Here's the information. Find out for yourself. How come I can't get that anywhere else? How come I can't get that on any other website, any other news or information website? Why is it that we have to go through this, through something like this, where it's ridiculous. All I want to do is look at the page and share the information and talk about what's there, but I can't even do that because I have to weed my way through. It's like it's 1995 again. Like it's a bunch of children out here running the web and running information, and it's just regressing just like the rest of society. There's no improvements. Everybody just keeps screwing with stuff to try to get their little bit of information out there and shove it down somebody's throat, as opposed to just putting it out there and letting it do what it's going to do. And that's government. That's everything about industry and business and the healthcare system, and it's just everything anymore. There's just nobody out there anymore who can just say, look, here's the best that I have to offer. It's right here for you. Dump right in and see what you think of it. It all has to be about selling something. It all has to be about selling. And I'm a capitalist. I love that. But there's a time and a place, and this is not the place. If I can't get to the information, if I have to wade through stuff, if I have to, argue with the web page about stupid stuff popping up over every time, whether it's cookies, our site uses cookies to track information and do this and that. Well, guess what? I'm not going to go to your website because it's not necessary. It doesn't need to be done. All you're trying to do is steal more information from me and feed me more crap that you think I need, instead of letting me. The internet was such a wonderful wild, wild west at one point. It really truly was. It was just this place where if you could figure out how to get out on there and what websites you wanted to go to, whether it was through a search engine or through knowledge of your own, it was just wide open, and it was anything out there, and you could go out there and you can look and you can find it, you can decide for yourself, and that was following that short period of the first internet that was trapped inside the first major internet for people, for the mass public, was trapped inside AOL and CompuServe and all these different places. What was the free one that was there for so long? Jeez, I don't even remember. It's been so long ago. But it was all inside this little box, and you only got what was inside the little box, and you had to figure out how to get outside of the box. And people figured out pretty quickly how to get outside of the box. And then once they did that, once these people who are trying to shove information and products down your throat instead of put them out there and let you find them, have made an art of reducing your exposure to the internet. They want you to see what they want you to see and nothing else. And unfortunately, the AI is going that way too. And when I say it's your fault, web developers, it's your fault, web developers. AI could have been just a tool that was used alongside the web, but instead it's just going, and search engines and information places to search out information could have been used as a tool just to help you do that. But instead, it's going to bypass everything because that's what people want. They don't want to have to go through your pop-ups and live through your advertisements and the video that you think everybody should see instead of the thing that they come to your site looking for. And it's just... You had your chance. You guys all had your chance. All the entire corporate internet had its chance to do what was right and to do what worked for a long, long time before they started this. I don't know. It really truly was just them trying to shove everything down your throat instead of just being there and going there and putting in the work. The search engine optimization and stuff, putting in the work to make it happen, and to make themselves show up in the places that they want to be. When they couldn't do that anymore, they started paying Google and all these other places to position their sites, and it just became not about information. It became about dollars. And it's very rare when someone like myself can break through it all, and I've managed to do that. I got my chunk out of it, and I did it for free, and it proves that you can still do it for free. And the fact that I retained a larger part of my audience and a consistent number of visits to the website proves that I'm doing it at a larger percentage. It proves that you can do it the way that I do it. You can just make yourself known, put yourself out there, and let people decide for themselves, and let the content and the what you produce in your work speak for itself. It didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to go this way. And that was a long tirade just to tell you that the CIA has revealed some more of its connections to Lee Harvey Oswald, and that there's a link up there for you that I shared with you. We may come back to some more AI stuff, but I wanted to get down to this. This is see, here it is again. It's the same, and it's even the same thing. And what's ridiculous about it is that it's advertising to me something I already own. Something that I already own and subscribe to. There's no need for me to see this. It sees this because I've typed this address into my browser, and it thinks that this is what I want to see. Why the hell would I see why would I want to see advertisements for something that I already subscribe to? Get this one. This happens all the time. This is MSN. It doesn't matter. It's Google. It doesn't matter. It's all because they're all tied into each other at this point with their advertising and the way they do things and the way they've screwed this completely up. I see my own listings for eBay. Yeah. My own listings on eBay will be in advertisements on MSN. My own Do you understand advertisers, people who are buying advertising, how wrong that is and how easy it is to not do it? So easy to not do. If they can feed me eBay content, auctions, content from auctions and sales on eBay, if they can feed me that information based on searches that I've done on eBay for particular content, Legos, comic books, whatever it is, the same sorts of things that I'm listing, then it can also not feed me back my own listings. That's what we're dealing with. If you think that I'm ranting that my rant is misplaced, then you don't understand how much these corporate entities and these news entities have failed us when it comes to the internet. You don't understand that they've failed the technology. But I'll give you an example because they have their own leaders in government leading them to these failures. The House on Thursday passed its first major piece of nationwide legislation to regulate cryptocurrencies, crypto. And it's a move, these are quotes here at the moment, a move widely expected to bring the once obscure payment technology further into the mainstream economy. And I'm going to destroy this because this is just so stupid. So for years, regulators have wrestled with how to treat the crypto industry. This article is at towardanarchy.com. It's through MSN. It's on their money. It's through the Washington Post, or at least that particular image is. See, I can't even see it because it's advertising. And now I'm on the page and the advertisement hasn't changed. I'm interacting with the page, trying to move through it, and the advertising hasn't changed. But it changed when I was away from the page and messed up the imagery. It's just ridiculous. And it doesn't even say necessarily who it is. That's just fantastic. Gotta love it. But the link is there. That's why I provide the link. If you need to know more about the information, about what I'm saying, or about who put it up there, and why I'm talking about it, you can always go and find out. So, again, quoting from this article, for years, regulators have wrestled with how to treat the crypto industry, whose value has swelled to $3.7 trillion, largely remaining a niche investment undertaken by investors with an appetite for risk, like most investments, as opposed to when you're talking about investments where you buy sort of stock or a thing, as opposed to actually go and do a thing, create a thing, and sell a thing. that's investing. It's gambling. It's a risk. It's a different form of gambling. And we could talk about so many different variations of gambling, but they ultimately rely on the same thing. You not knowing what you're getting and a chance, a percentage of getting something of value potentially to yourself or to someone else, that you could increase the amount of money that you get back more money than what you spend on it. Okay, so largely undertaken by these investors. We know this, right? So the House's vote means that the federal government is close to cementing its first rules on how financial institutions can issue crypto tokens, specifically a less volatile class known as stablecoins, which are typically pegged to the value of the U.S. dollar. They're all pegged to the U.S. dollar. It's 1-to-1. That's the difference in the peg. It's 1-to-1. So whatever the coin is, it's $1. I'm going to finish reading this thing before I tear into it, because I could already just be tearing this up. It's already stupid. It's already economically ignorant and pointless. The Genius Act is what it's called. It passed with bipartisan support, 308 to 122, following the Senate's approval back in June. It's now ready to be signed into law by Donald. And he has endorsed the bill and has pledged to pursue a more lenient regulatory environment for crypto while also promoting his own crypto ventures. It's funny that he's supposedly pursuing a more lenient environment, but regulation is literally the opposite of a lenient environment. We had no regulation before. People took their chances. That's the way life works. Now we have regulation, so it is no longer lenient. It is now regulated, you jackass, with your hair hat. President Trump promised to make America the crypto capital of the world, and today delivered, says majority whip, somebody who should probably be whipped, Tom Emmer, the Republican from Minnesota. I don't know him. I'm just saying he's a politician. He's a Republican. He's one of the scumbags who supports the scumbag who is the president and who is ignoring all of the don't pay no attention to that man waving over there on the island, and watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. A squirrel out of my hat called End the Fed, or crypto currency controls or regulations, or anything else. Bomb Iran. Let's do that. Anything other than paying attention to that man over there waving on the island. Woo-hoo, yippee, look at me. Under the Genius Act, issuers of stablecoins, such as banks and crypto companies, no crypto company will issue stablecoin. None. And I'll explain to you why. They'll be required to hold reserves of enough U.S. dollars or similar assets to support the coin's value. Issuers will also need to publish details about those reserves. And it's one of these crypto-related proposals the House considered this week as part of what the House Republicans are calling Crypto Week. Optimism that the Genius Act would sail through the chamber briefly faded as GOP lawmakers argued over how best to package a trio of measures. And let's get into what the actual three different things are. They finally did pass the three measures with the bipartisan support, as they were saying. That's the Clarity Act, which establishes the Commodity Futures Trading Commission as the primary crypto regulator. Regulations, rules, giving control over something that they have nothing to do with, they don't create, and they're supposed to manage it and regulate it. It's business as usual in the government. This is not opening up the market. This is shrinking the market. This is making it harder for these things to work within the market and for them to be to not affect other people when they fail. When you pin and peg all of these things to each other and make them dependent on one thing or another, when one of them crashes, one of them fails, they all fail exactly the same way, instead of, oh, well, that guy did it wrong over there, he failed. No big deal. Him and his investors are the ones that suffer. They took their chances. Sometimes it doesn't go well. Hopefully he was doing the right thing by him and treated him well, and they don't have to sue him and make a big deal out of it. But the rest of us are fine. That's the problem with all of this. The Genius Act focuses solely on stablecoins whose relative... Oh, wait. We missed one. Let's see. So the Clarity Act establishes the Commodity Futures Trading Commission as a primary crypto regulator. That goes to the Senate. and as will a third proposal, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, which would prevent the Federal Reserve from issuing digital currencies. Hilarious. All of this is hilarious. And then, so, of course, the Genius Act, the main thing, focuses on the stablecoins, whose relative stability is viewed as more suitable for everyday transactions. Of course it is, because it's the dollar. Stablecoins, you're not taking something. It's like me when you use other cryptocurrencies, it's like me using comic books to buy stuff with. If it changes in the market, and the very usage of it changes it. So when I go to say I want to go into a comic book shop and I want them to buy a comic book for me, or want to trade for other comic books, another form of currency that they happen to have in their store, and I have my currency and it's this expensive comic book, and I present it to them, and I get some currency or something back. All of these things, they're all pegged in this 1-to-1 ratio with the dollar, in the sense that we trade them in dollars. But the 1-to-1 means that there's no flexibility, and so it would just be like me going into the store and using dollars. I would have had to have bought the cryptocurrency with dollars. The people I bought it from would have to have the dollars in their bank account, the actual physical dollars in their bank account, to be able to sell me crypto, so that when I wanted to sell them back the crypto, that it would be that they would be able to buy it back from me. Well, what happens if the dollar tanks, or if there's something, if they're pegged 1-to-1, but they didn't have that money to begin with? That money, the value of the dollar tanks, so they lose value, or the value goes up of the dollar. The value of the dollar goes up. Well, they don't have the money to buy back the currency at the higher value rate. Their reserves didn't increase. The value of the currency did. If you can't see the difference of this, and the train wreck that this is about to have, you probably aren't in banking, and you probably are happy with letting the government manipulate money like this. And so it's focused on these stable coins. They're supposedly pegged to a 1-to-1 ratio with the dollar, and that supposedly makes them less volatile. They're again, these are about purchases. It's about making purchases, but there's no point in that. Okay, so what the supporters say is that the stablecoin bill, this is quotes, creates a long-needed regulatory framework for issuing stablecoins, which they contend will help the United States stay competitive in the $260 billion stablecoin market while codifying consumer protections. But the bill doesn't contain the necessary guardrails, this is what the enemies would say, the bad guys would say, against corruption, opponents say, and pointing to, I guess the bad guys are good guys. And none of these are bad guys or good guys. They're all just manipulators. They're all just trying to get their piece, and they're all just trying to make it sound like they're doing something important to protect the people. They're not. Most of us are not buying these things, don't want them, and have no interest in them. They're a gamble. Most people are going to stay away from them unless they're easy gambles. I mean, it's not even like the comic books or the cards that I play with in that sense, because at least I have a physical thing. When I buy a comic book, when I took this comic book into this shop and it's worth X dollars or whatever, and I want to trade them for it, the comic book, I actually have the comic book. With these coins and things, they don't exist, and so when I have the comic book and its value, it's not pegged. It's whatever it's valued at. It's whatever people will pay for it, and the value of it changes. This is what I was just saying a second ago. The value of it literally changes as I'm using it as a currency, because that information, especially these days, goes into the market and alters the sales price, because the sales price, particularly of comic books and collectibles, and it would be the same when you're talking about something like dollars and currencies, because they function very much the same way. When you go into the store and you buy one of these things and you actually get the physical thing back from it, you have obviously this advantage, but when you go in to take, because you have the physical thing in your hands, when you go to take it back in there, because it's on the market, because the market is like it is, somebody notes the sale, especially if it's one of these bigger comic book companies with a bigger comic book. They'll note the sale. That sale becomes a part of the aggregate number of sales of that particular item across the board, and it's not stable. The price is not stable. If I brought that book in there and it was a really nice book and it beats the market price on the book, or it beats the highest sale on the book, it alters the market price. It alters the highest sale price. It becomes a part of that. A part of the consideration for that. But that's a physical thing that's being based on the market demand for it and the actual purchases and prices of it. The money and the currency doesn't work that way when you go to change it like that. It doesn't work that way. It's pegged 1-to-1. So it would be like me going in with my comic book and saying, well, that this comic book here is pegged to this comic book over here, and that comic book over there is worth considerably more, but they're the same because they're both comic books. It's like there's no attention needed to be paid to what the comic book title is, what issue it is. None of that. That's more like what's happening with the dollars, because they're no different. This whole idea of stable coins being stable in and of itself is ridiculous, because it's attached to the dollar, and the dollar is not stable. So it's just, quote, more stable. But what's the point of having a cryptocurrency that's pegged to the dollar? If amazing fantasy cryptocurrency is pegged 1-for-1 for the dollar, why do I need it? Why would I set up a server to create and manage and do all these things to manage a cryptocurrency and to manage a different currency when it's just dollars? When it's literally just dollars with a different name? This idea that the dollar isn't digital is ridiculous. We use digital dollars every single day. Do we need a crypto coin that is pegged to the dollar? Absolutely not. Nobody needs it. No exchange should ever carry a crypto coin that is pegged to the dollar. It can just carry dollars. There's no exchange. There's no cost. There's no difference. There's no confusion. There's no explanation needed. You just have digital dollars. This is just dumb. It's just dumb. And it's an example of what government doesn't do for people. It's trying to get in there and put itself in a place where it can make money and where it controls the making of money on digital currencies, on cryptocurrencies. That's it. There's no attempt in here to help people to change the markets for the better when it comes to cryptocurrencies that aren't pegged to the dollar. And it's not going to do anything to alter the way people approach these things. It's not going to protect people from losses. It doesn't make any sense for any institution at all whatsoever, banks, anyone, to create a cryptocurrency that's pegged 1-to-1 to the dollar, because the dollar is already a cryptocurrency. That's all there is to it. It's already exchanged digitally. There's no this idea that they would have to have the physical dollars to back up the cryptocurrency. The banks don't even have to do that. What do you think fractional reserve banking is? The banks don't even have to have the dollars, and I just explained the flaw of it anyway in pegging 1-to-1. So it's pegged 1-to-1. But you're a bank. You're a bank, and you have $10 in the bank, and you issue $10 worth of currency to somebody else. It doesn't even matter what you call it. It's equal to $10. It's $10 worth of your bank's currency. You issue that to somebody, and the value of the currency that you no longer have the currency. You have the $10 it represents. If you're lucky, you still have, you're being told by government that you have to. So theoretically, you have the $10 that I gave you. It's pegged 1-to-1. You can't even sell it for more, except you could charge me a fee to manage my finances in your cryptocurrency. This is just so ridiculous. The whole thing is just stupid AF. Stupid AF. There's nothing redeeming about this at all. It is every bit of proof that you need to know that the government is completely ignorant of economics, doesn't give a damn about fixing the economy, wouldn't know how to go about fixing the economy if it could. All it wants is its pound of flesh. It wants its dollar. So you sold me the cryptocurrency. I now have the cryptocurrency. You no longer have it anymore. You just have $10. And $10 is worth what? $10, right? It's the $10 that you have. It's a $10 bill. It will never be worth $11. It will never be worth $9. It is worth $10 because that's what government said it's worth. But guess what? The value of my cryptocurrency went up after you sold it to me. It's worth $11 now. You don't have $11. You can't buy it back. It doesn't matter if you have the reserves or not. You don't have the reserve to cover the increase. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is just stupid AF. Nothing about this makes any sense unless you're a complete idiot, moron, meddler who wants your pound of flesh, you're a government controller, a manipulator, a scumbag, somebody who gets paid off of basically making legislation and forcing other people to be compliant with things that you want them to be compliant with, whether or not they're good or not, and so that way when they're not compliant with it, or when they are compliant with it and they have to pay for all the paperwork and the registrations and the fees and all this stuff, you get a paycheck. When they're not compliant, you throw them in jail, you get a paycheck because they weren't compliant. That's all this is about. There's nothing in this that betters the economy. There's nothing in this legislation that will fix or help consumers with cryptocurrency. None of it. It's not even a cryptocurrency. It's just dollars with a different name. It's ridiculous. The whole thing is laughable. I can't even. I don't even know what else I could begin to tell you about how ridiculous it is. Let's see if there's any other of the specific points. The CBDC Surveillance Act thing, the anti-CBDC. If you don't know what CBDC is, that's central bank digital currencies. And it's just under the auspices of if they issue a digital currency, they control the currency 100%, and they can see all of your transactions. This was always a thing that was ridiculous. Secure transaction. There's a difference between a secure transaction, as in I'm secured in the knowledge that what I give to you will get to you. That's a secure transaction, and that's as far as the secure transaction of Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies, anything that's on the blockchain goes. They tried to sell you on the idea, or at least people certainly within the freedom movement jumped on this notion that it was safe, that it was protected, and that people couldn't see the transactions. It's a ledger instrument. It literally marks down every single movement of itself from one person to another. It takes the information with it and never leaves it behind. There's nothing secure about that at all. Just because they can't see who is on the end, there's a trail. There's a trail between them, and if you have any part of the trail, especially with computers, you can piece it back together. Do you know what a RAID server is? Do you have any idea what the concept of is? This is something that's existed for a long, long, long time, and it's so that people don't lose information on something like a blockchain or on a computer. What it is that bits of the information are spread out over multiple systems or over multiple hard drives. And so that no matter what, if you lose one of the hard drives or if you lose one of the systems or multiple ones of them, you have enough data to recreate every single bit of the data that you lost. How would that be secure? That's one of more of these laughable things. But just speaking directly to the anti-CBDC aspect of it, the dollar is already digital. It is already controlled by the central bank. It is already a central bank digital currency. It's already controlled. It's already done. They already know exactly every single one of your transactions. The only difference at this point is that you can still get dollars. And the cryptocurrency thing wouldn't stop that either. Nobody should create a stablecoin. Nobody should issue a currency that already is handled by the dollar. Nobody. No, it's worthless. It's pointless, and it's not going to protect. It's not going to save us from government interaction. Those people that want protections from government to be offered through these coins and through these digital systems, it's ridiculous. It cannot be done. They're digital systems. They're meant to be. They're meant to make it so that they can be followed, so that they can be recreated, so that the person who sends it is guaranteed to know that they sent it, and that the person who receives it is guaranteed to know who they received it. All of those things constitute a system that is not only unprotected in that sense of your transactions not being seen by somebody. It's literally the opposite of it. It's making a record of every single one of your transactions, and the dollar already does that. They already do that in every single way. This won't change anything. It doesn't make anything better. If you buy cryptocurrency one for one pegged at the dollar, you're an idiot. Because all you're doing is exchanging currencies, and you're exchanging currencies. I've talked about this with the Bitcoin thing before. You're exchanging currencies for a currency that most people don't want and can't use. They have no use for it, and they don't want it. They just want the dollar. This is dumb. This whole thing is dumb. It just goes to show you exactly what government is. Government cannot help you. Government doesn't want to help you. Government doesn't know how to help you. This is such an easily understood thing, how this money works and how these digital currencies work in terms of exchange and how you pay for them. I shouldn't have to be able to sit here and point out the very obvious flaw of you taking my $10 bill, giving me a digital currency that can go up in value, and you only still having a $10 bill and pretending like you could buy my digital currency back from me now that it's worth $11. I shouldn't have to be able to point that out through legislation that has already passed through our American system. Unless the people who are trying to pass it are complete friggin' morons or complete liars and thieves. Which one do you think it is? Because I'm betting it's a little bit of both, but I'm betting one of them is a lot higher than the other in terms of percentages. They're wanting their piece. That's all it is. They want control, and that's it. It's not going to improve anything. It's not going to make the crypto market better. It's going to confuse it, in fact. It's going to make people think that they're buying into one of these cryptocurrencies when they're not. All they're doing is buying a gift card with a different name on it. That's it. That's all we're talking about here, and it's just so sad. But it's wonderful in this sense that I can sit here and I can expose it for the idiocy that it is. Let's see. In June, and this should wrap this up because we're about to go to a break here. This should be perfect for this. In June, Trump reported earning $57.3 million through his stake in his family's crypto platform. And it's World Liberty Financial, which issues the stablecoin USD1. Since releasing its separate meme coin in January, Trump-affiliated businesses have received at least $312 million from crypto sales and $43 million in fees. There you go. There you go. I'm done. I'm done talking. I just proved everything I just said. I just proved it. There you go. There's no more question. I'm done talking about it. And actually, it's the end of the hour. I'll be right back. Stick around.
A society that aims for equality before liberty will end up with neither equality nor liberty. And a society that aims first for liberty will not end up with equality, but it will end up with a closer approach to equality than any other kind of system that has ever been developed. Now, that conclusion is based both on evidence from history, across history, and also, I believe, on reasoning which, if you try to follow through the implications of aiming first at equality, will become clear to you. You can only aim at equality by giving some people the right to take things from others. And what ultimately happens when you aim at equality is that A and B decide what C shall do for D. Except that they take a little bit of a commission off on the way.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crying in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network. Here's your host, Michael Storm.
And here we go, up into hour number 2, towardanarchy.com to follow along. Of course, that is the place to be. And boy, we're just in it today, aren't we? When you get there, you're looking for episode 2525 and everything that I've been talking about, the Stablecoin, Stablecon, and a few other things. A little bit ranty, I guess, today. We'll see how this next hour goes. This next hour should be kind of fun, actually, because it's something that I guess is probably overdue, and we'll get there. We'll get there in a minute. I'm going to do a couple of other things before we get there. One is, just real quick, take that second, wherever you're hearing the show, wherever you're listening, wherever you're seeing it, click that like button. And again, if you're so inclined, click that subscribe button or that share button as well. That's even, just the like button. That's fine. That's perfect. Give me the likes. I'll take the likes all day long. All day long. And, excuse me, I also wanted to tell you about a comic book that I read. I don't always get to do this. I don't always do them in line. Usually it's a recording, and I just kind of splice it in there and drop it in. Or you get to have to go find it yourself if it's one of those really long-winded ones. But I thought I would take a minute to point this one out, just because this one was a little bit fun, and it's a name. It's a name and a subject and thing that of things that people around here will be familiar with and will understand and may have a little bit of interest in from the fun side of things. I hope you are still having some fun out there. Charlamagne Tha God presents Illuminati. It's on AWA Studios. It's written by Brian Edward Hill, and you would know him, I would think, most likely from either Black Panther or his work on Postal. And Postal was really, really well received, and Ultimate Black Panther is currently running and is one of the great Marvel titles. There's only a handful of them at any given time. And all the Ultimate stuff right now by Marvel is really doing well, and it's being well managed. It's well written, and the art is great, and the stories are keeping people interested. And Marvel doesn't necessarily do that because Marvel is a corporation. It is not a place that cares about creators or art or the art that they create. beyond what it can make them in money. Let's not fool ourselves into believing anything but that, because that is absolutely a fact. But just Brian Edward Hill, he's been around forever. I mean, he's a musician, he's an author, a screenwriter, he's just known for so many different things. Art by Dennis Cowan. And he's another one that's just been around for decades, like 1980, doing bits for Weird War Tales, and then I wrote The Question for a number of years, and he was also the senior vice president of animation for BET, which means that he was one of the guys that was integral in creating or bringing Boondocks to television, to a cartoon form. Of course, the Boondocks had been a comic news strip, a newspaper comic strip for a long time, a very long time, and a very, very long time. And Huey Freeman, he's against the man. He's fighting against the man. No, Boondocks, just one of the great cartoons across the board. The cartoon, the original cartoon strips, all of it. Just a fantastic series, and Dennis Cowan is a part of that. And then you have Bill Sienkiewicz on the inking on this, and Bill is a personal favorite of mine. Again, another guy that's just been around the industry for decades and is absolutely fully respected. I mean, seriously, how could with names like these, Charlamagne back in it, you got Sienkiewicz, and you got Cowan, and you got Hill, you got all these guys with all this history and all this weight. They all carry all this weight, and they're making this book. Of course, I'm going to jump in there, and I'm not going to be disappointed. Right? There's no chance I'd be disappointed. So just that sets up a fantastic work, or what should be. And I don't know, I think it was. Janice is dead, another apparent victim of the Hollywood lifestyle. But her sister, Lily, has a feeling that there's more to it than that, and she has that feeling before she ever sees her sister's ghost, and her ghost tells her as much. And then she also receives a mysterious note, and it's from this friend of her sister, and so she decides, and there's a number on it that says, "Give me a call, I was your sister's friend." And so she does. She calls this number up, and it turns out it's this rich music producer, and she meets with him, and he's wanting her. It's all weird. It's real weird. She gets a weird feeling from it all as well. And he's wanting her to go ahead and complete her twin sister's work. Yeah, they're twins, right? No spoilers, not really. I try to avoid them. I don't know. The last thing, the last one that I did about Jay and Silent Bob, I may have talked about that one too much. I may have spoiled the hell out of that one. But that was just such a fun read. And it's Jay and Silent Bob in an Archie comic. How much can you expect from it? How much is really going to be a spoiler, and how much of it is just, oh yeah, it's Jay and Silent Bob. Oh yeah, it's Archie. At any rate, no spoil. I try to avoid the spoilers. And so she goes and she meets with this producer, and he wants her to pick up where her twin left off. And apparently they're both very musically inclined, and he just thought it would be this cathartic thing, celebrating her life, being able to finish this album that she worked on. She's this pop star. That's the whole pop star gets eaten up by Hollywood kind of thing. And just wants her to pick up where she left off recording that album. And she bails out on that, and there's some other strangers and people that she meets in there that try to send her in one direction or another in the relation to this. And she knows she's in danger, but after meeting this guy, she knows she wants a piece of this, but not in that sense. She wants to know who killed her sister, and she is willing to face the danger to go and find that out. That's Illuminati #1. It's one of a 5-parter. It's on AWA. It's in your local comic shops right now, and it was a great read, and I'm looking forward to the next one. If you can't get yours, if you've got those problems, hit me up, AmazingFantasies.com, or better yet, stop in the store sometime here in Topeka, Kansas, and say hi to us, and Let us know that you're out there. Let me know that you heard it on the show. It's awesome. It happens all the time that people mention it. We'll get this just a little mention or something, and it's only just begun. That's really what's neat about it. And hopefully I'll see you there sometime. Hopefully you'll drop in. All right, so let's go back to towardanarchy.com, and you're looking at 2525. That's the episode, and I was talking about the stablecoin and all that silliness in the last hour. But there was one thing that I really wanted to concentrate on in this hour, and it's something that I guess is long overdue, I suppose you could say. I don't know. Actually, it's not due at all. Depending on how you look at it, I've made it this far without it. That's the reality of it. And no knowledge of it in terms of any understanding of it. I knew of its existence, and that's entirely different. But the only reason I knew of its existence is because I've spent the last few years beating the snot out of it in the search engines because it's tied to the words Toward Anarchy, and that's my phrase. That's mine now. I own that sucker from top to bottom, and I will continue to beat up on the way I talked about in the first hour when I was talking about doing the right thing and doing the thing that gets you the position and putting out the better information and doing the work that puts you in front of the other people that are out there. That's what I'll do, and that's what I've done to get my position. That was it. Before they were number one. Because it's been on the internet. This reference to Toward Anarchy has been on the internet for a very, very long time, and in an archive sense, and it's been scraped and scrubbed and spidered and all this a million times. It's gone over, and the search engines know it and knew it well for many years. And for me to overtake it was something of a challenge, especially without doing anything to otherwise facilitate that, except go through the steps, do the work, improve the page, improve the hits and the clicks and the links on it, and that's it. And that's what I've done, and I've taken it over. Again, proof that you could do it, what I was saying in the last hour. But this thing was always out there, and and I'm still always in a constant battle with it, because as people will find the articles and go through those pages on that website, they get their hits, they get their clicks, they get their notice again, and it helps with the algorithms to push them back up. So I'm in a constant battle. I'm actually in a constant battle with myself more than anything now at this point, because depending on how the keywords are playing at any given time and how many of them are popping up on Spotify or Rumble or YouTube or whatever, but they're all associated with me. It's all my content, but it's not the website. It's one of these other social media places, Facebook or something like that points to me. So I'm in a constant battle with myself for the search engine optimization. But this article is from the Anarchist Library. It's the anarchistlibrary.org, and there's a link up there for you that's directly to it. This is something that was written December 9th, 1899. So this is Toward Anarchy since 1899. And I'll explain all that to it. So the source is The Method of Freedom and an Enrico Malatesta reader. I haven't read this. I glanced over it to get an idea of exactly what it was. I've never read this before. I thought I would share it with you directly, and we would talk about what Toward Anarchy meant to somebody in 1899 and what it means to me today, and see if those are compatible things. And the one thing that I read about it is that there's some question about the meaning of the actual article. It was originally published, at least this interpretation of it was originally published in 1933 as Verso la Anarchia, and a question of social, the social question, a social question, I guess is what that would be. It would be French, but they misinterpreted Verso la Anarchia. And their claim is, in this later printing and understanding of it, is that it was originally that they interpreted it as Toward Anarchism. They replaced anarchism with anarchy in the title throughout the text to rectify this, quote, gross mistranslation. The whole article is based on a distinction between anarchy, the ultimate ideal, and the incessant effort to approach that ideal, which is anarchism. And so I get why they tried to change it and why they're saying that it's where it's had been known until for a long time, at least until these guys got a hold of it anyway, which it doesn't say on here. I guess not. But since at least 1933, until these guys got their hands on it, it was wrong. They translated anarchia as anarchism, which actually it's not. You can look that up, and it does apparently fundamentally change what is the point of this argument. And the reason that I can say that and agree with it is because I get what they're trying to say there. There's anarchism, and there's the pursuit of moving toward anarchy, the actual state of anarchy, and not an ism, not a study of philosophy, an idea of anarchism. And they're trying to talk about the distinction between the two. So it's a general opinion that we, because we call ourselves revolutionists, expect anarchy to come with one stroke as the immediate result of an insurrection which violently attacks all that exists and which replaces it with institutions that are really new. And to say the truth, this idea is not lacking among some comrades who conceive the revolution in such a manner. So there are some people who believe that anarchy can only be realized through the violent overthrow of the existing system, and it's replaced with new institutions that fit into basically a socialist paradigm. And I hope that's what they're getting at, is ultimately the difference between the socialist paradigm of anarchism and the non-socialist view of anarchy. I hope that's what they were getting at. I don't know. So to clarify on this exists in this realm of all this other material about anarchy, about liberalism, about libertarianism that I've never read and never will read. I wouldn't have read it if it wasn't for the fact that it has just popped up there and it's been in competition with me all of these years. I thought I'd give it a read and see what it was all about. And when I actually looked at that introduction to it, and it said that it was about this distinction between anarchism, which I see as this sort of socialist movement, and anarchy, which is the actual state of reality. And I'm assuming that that's what they're talking about, and that's why I wanted to read it. But I would have never read it because I don't need to. I already understand that difference. I already get that existence. But there was something else in here that we'll get to real quick in it that I really need to see, that I really need to read through to understand, to make sure that, to see what they mean by some of these ways that we'll see anarchy realized, or that it can or can't be realized in current events and current state of the world. So this prejudice explains why so many honest opponents believe anarchy a thing impossible. Now, I'm not an opponent. I'm a proponent of anarchy, and I believe it to be impossible. But let's continue. And it also explains why some comrades, disgusted with the present moral condition of the people and seeing that anarchy cannot come about soon, waver between an extreme dogmatism which blinds them to the realities of life and an opportunism which practically makes them forget they are anarchists, and that for anarchy that they should struggle. And I think that's a great statement about the people on the socialist left, anarchist side of things, because that's who socialists are. They're lazy ass people who don't want to put in the struggle to make things come about. And it's not a struggle. It's not, their struggle would be fighting the state. That would be their struggle, and that would be their goal. But that's not how you win over the hearts and minds of people. You fight the idea that people have to live under socialist rule and controllers, and that is what the strive toward anarchy should be, and that you should live in your own life as opposed to trying to push it off onto other people. And I gather, again, having just glanced at it to know what I was getting into, that they probably agree ultimately. Of course, the triumph of anarchy cannot be a consequence of a miracle. It cannot come about in contradiction to the laws of development and axiom of evolution that nothing occurs without sufficient cause and nothing can be accomplished without adequate means. That's exactly what I'm saying. They don't want to put in the work. They don't want to put in the effort that you as an individual has to make to be an anarchist. I don't think most people do. They're not ready for the responsibility. The conservative party in this nation and around the world is not ready for the responsibility of anarchy. So, and they're the ones that are even remotely closest to it, because the liberals, the libertarians, are just liberal wishy-washy fools who are really that really fit this category of the comrades who conceive the revolution in such a manner that waver between the extreme dogmatism that blinds them to the reality of life, the anarchy of life, and the opportunism that makes them forget. We just read this, right? That makes them forget that they're anarchists and that there is a struggle, that you have to live the anarchist life and that you have to afford others anarchy if you want to see anarchy become a reality. They won't put in that work. They want an institutionalized system that they pretend is anarchy because it fits more with their view, their anti-corporate view mostly. An anti-capitalist view. If we should want to substitute one government for another that is impose our desires upon others, it would only be necessary to combine the material forces needed to resist the actual oppressors and put ourselves in our place. But we don't want this. We want anarchy, which is a society based on free and voluntary accord, a society in which no one can force his wishes on another, in which everyone can do as he pleases, and together all will voluntarily contribute to the well-being of the community. This is them. I've said all this stuff before. I knew all this stuff. I knew it. This is why I thought this would be great, because it's 1899. I'm not reinventing the wheel here. The things that I'm talking about, the things that I'm asking for in respect of the individual are nothing new, and that they've been in contention for this the ruling of America since its founding. There have been anarchists there that said that the direction of this nation and the federal system and the Constitution and these recognition of sort of paper rights is not going to solve the problems, that it's not going to reduce government, that it's not going to reduce the burden of government on the individual man, that it's not going to let us be individuals. We don't want this. We want anarchy, a society based on free and voluntary accord, a society in which no one can force his wishes on another, and in which everyone can do as he pleases, and together all will voluntarily contribute to the well-being of the community because they're contributing to their own well-being. That's me. I added that part. But because of this, anarchy will not have definitively and universally triumphed until all men will not only not want to be commanded, but will not want to command. That's the crux of it, right? That's why I say that there isn't any hope for anarchy in totality, because you will never have that state where all men don't want to be commanded, because most men want to be commanded, because most men are afraid of the unknown and are afraid to move about and make their own decisions in their lives and to make the changes and do the things that they see in reality that are important to them. Most people subscribe to a socialist a collective idea of what these things are supposed to be and who a man is supposed to be. And so most people are completely happy with that because they just see that's what other people are doing. And generally speaking, there's some peace and comfort and security in the idea that you can go ahead and do that too and move forward with what everybody else is doing around you and feel comfortable with it. And it's rare that there's the person who kicks the system, who kicks it entirely, who bucks the entire notion of what the system has framed as being what's important and what is an individual. So let's pick back up here. But because of this anarchy, we will not have definitively and universally triumphed until all men will only not want to be commanded, but will not want to command. Nor will anarchy have succeeded unless they will have understood the advantages of solidarity and know how to organize a plan of social life wherein there will no longer be traces of violence and imposition. See, that's too much. That's asking far too much. Those things don't exist, and I might have to read that again. I won't do it now, but I might have to read that again to see if there's something I missed in it that suggests that they're saying the opposite of that. That those things are the things that you can't achieve, and that you can only organize just so much, and you can be in as complete solidarity with as many people as you can be with, but there's always going to be somebody who's not. There will always be, and this is why I think this is where we disconnect. This is where I depart from this idea that has existed since 1899, apparently, at least through this person's recollection and description of it all. Is that it can ever be achieved. I don't think it can ever be achieved. I think that it's too big. That there will always be people who are afraid, and that afraid people will lead to people who will control or who will be instituted to control, whether they want to or not. They'll find themselves within a system where people are chosen to control other people, such as democracy, whether or not you voted for it or not. And so there will always be. And once you institutionalize a system around that idea, the institution survives on that idea and suggests that everything else must be sacrificed for that idea to be maintained. And that's where you get less than 30% of the population or so, or whatever it is, of people, of actual people in America who are participating in the system and who are dictating to the rest of us through their vote and participation in the system, how the rest of us will live. There's no getting over that. The only thing that you can hope for is smaller societies, smaller groups of people who leave each other alone and let each other be. And that's never really going to happen, especially when the bigger society will always suggest that, again, it must survive, even over the little guys, even over the little peaceful guys over there, the guys that aren't doing anything. You see enough of that as it is now. And you're not supposed to assume that anarchy is pacifist, that you're supposed to let people run over you when they get a little too handsy with property and a little too bossy with the way things are going. Somebody asked me a dumb question the other day about, and I said it was dumb because it was too vague, that the idea was too vague, and that it was kind of a dumb question anyway. They was sort of asking what rules would be passed in your voluntary society to cause you to drop out of society, and so the question is so wrongly framed because there wouldn't be rules forced on you in that society. They would be agreed to, and if they weren't agreed to, then they wouldn't be rules, and you wouldn't follow them, and no one would expect you to follow them. They would just expect you, in a totally voluntary society, a total anarchist society, they would expect you to respect their respect for whatever it is. Again, it's like the question of property. You don't have to like or want or need or even think that what that person calls their property is important. You could care less about it, but you can't care less about the person and their respect and their right to their property. And so you respect the person even if you don't care about that property. And so you don't degrade that property, you don't dismiss that property, because you would be doing so in the face of the individual. And we will never get to that point as a total society. It's never going to happen. Ever. That's utopian nonsense. Anarchy is utopian nonsense. There, you heard it from the anarchist himself. Anarchy is utopian nonsense. No, it's not. Anarchism, that's the point of this, and it's a little bit confused, but I'm there with it, generally speaking. It is the difference. I'll give it that. It's that difference between anarchy and anarchism. I think it's fairly obvious what it is. Let's see. As the concise determination and capacity of men continuously develop and find means of expression in the gradual modification of the new environment and in the realization of the desires in proportion to their being formed and becoming imperious, so it is with anarchy. Anarchy cannot come but little by little, slowly but surely, growing in intensity and extension. Absolutely, we agree with that, because it will be underground. It'll be something that people will find themselves, but the system won't go away. That's the thing about it. Anybody will find it. Even people. There are people all over who absolutely believe anarchist ideology, whether they understand it or know it or not. They believe it, and it would have to be explained to them in terms of anarchy that that's what they're supporting, but they still show up and vote. They still do all this. So there's a disconnect there that's never ever going to connect. You see, therefore, the subject is not whether we accomplish anarchy today, tomorrow, or within 10 centuries, but that we walk toward anarchy today, tomorrow, and always. Boy, I should just end it right there, shouldn't I? Because that's all I've ever said. That's all I've ever said. That's a complete, wonderful summation of what Toward Anarchy is, what this show is. It's about showing. It really, truly is. It's about showing that there's a better way, a different way, and that we can continue in our individual lives to walk toward anarchy. I think that's fantastic. Let's see. Anarchy is the abolition of exploitation and oppression of man by man, which will never end, and it should be organized man by man. The man by man, mano a mano, that's never going to change. We'll always have people who will disagree, and they will hurt each other, and they will harm each other's property, and sometimes it'll be willful, and sometimes it'll be accidental, but it will always happen, man on man. It's the system on man, the exploitation and oppression of man by the system. That's the real problem. That is the abolition of private property and government. See, there you go. We already have departed on the private property thing. And I was afraid this was going to happen, and it's a common problem with leftists who don't actually understand economics. And you notice that there isn't a particular economic understanding within this. It's just theorizing about how people are supposed to get along. And if we all get along, then, of course, we won't have any need for money because we'll all just help each other and we won't have any property. It'll all just be shared. This is all nonsense. This is how the irresponsible make it hard for everyone else to live in a polite society, because when you call something public, when you make it a shared space, there's no personal responsibility to take care of the space and maintain the space and to love and protect the space, because it's just everybody's space. Who cares? It's somebody else's problem. Somebody else can deal with it. I didn't have to put it there. I'm not the one that somebody's got to mow the lawn. It's not me. Somebody's got to pick up the trash. It's not me. These are the things that come along with, and it's interesting to be able to read something like this and sit there there and listen to the person talk about how lazy this other group of anarchists is, people who call themselves anarchists, and yet still call for the abolition of private property along with government. Government doesn't even protect private property, let alone ensure that private property is a thing. The private property doesn't exist because government exists and is there to protect it. Corporations don't exist because government is there to protect them. These things existed before government, before the formation of these things. They've been corrupted by government, and so it makes no sense to suggest that you can be an anarchist and deny somebody the ability to acquire, amass, and keep wealth in any way that isn't voluntary. In any other way that isn't voluntary. If it's voluntary, and if they do business with other people and they're not, they do straight up business with other people and they're not harming other people, and those people are participating in the business and doing the business with them voluntarily, there's nothing the other anarchists could say. I don't care if you call it capitalism. I don't care if you call it a corporation. I don't care if you call it private property. I don't care what you call it. It has to exist. You have to recognize the right as an anarchist of other anarchists to be who the hell they want to be, and that includes acquiring and amassing their wealth and keeping their wealth. If it's done voluntarily, if it's done without violating other people, the anarchist does not have a say. The anarchist who is against private property is against anarchy. He's against himself. He's against his own natural right to live his life and acquire the things that he acquires duly. And you can make arguments about land or property not being duly distributed within the system as it exists, but that's what you're talking about. You're talking within the system that it exists. In the voluntary system, in the anarchist system, it is well understood that property is something that you acquire without violating other people, and you can't just come along and take it from other people. You work with them. And it recognizes the laissez-faire, the capitalist, the anarchist who understands economics and understands wants and needs and how people go about resolving those things. There are only just so many people who are completely insane and think that they have to own everything and have to have all the money in the world. Those people are so few and far between, and they have absolutely no power whatsoever to amass the wealth or to assert their power over anyone else unless you give them that power. It is not the leaders who institute the death and destruction and the theft and all of these things in the name of the state. These are all done by the people of the state, the supporters of the state. It's not done by the leaders. The leaders sit back and they say, well, that guy's an enemy and maybe you should go fight him. In fact, I'll pay you to go fight him. I won't pay you very much, and you'll probably lose your legs, and you'll probably spend the rest of your life in a crappy VA hospital. But you know, you got what you wanted. This is so bad. This is so bad that when you can't even get. This is why I don't bother. Can anybody get that? Did anybody just catch that? I give you just a second to think about it again. This is why I don't bother reading the philosophy and the ideas of other anarchists or libertarians or liberals or conservatives or anyone else. I don't need anyone to tell me about life, and I sure as hell don't need somebody from 1899 to tell me that we need to abolish private property. I just don't need it. Because it's just how many arguments against it? How many reasons? How much reason do I have to put behind the idea of private property and about individual right and keeping? This is why I started to say just a second ago about sort of in the voluntarist and anarchist community, it's understood that not everybody wants all the property, not everybody wants property, not everybody wants to be responsible for property, and this is a disconnect right there. It's that word property. and then coupling it with having to take care of it. And responsibility and property. Those are two things that go together. You have to be responsible and you have to maintain property. If we're talking about physical land and things like that, it's understood that it's in the use of the property that's what validates your ownership of the property and validates your right to it, not just some piece of paper and not just the claim of force, but it's the claim of use. I have this property here and I'm using this property properly. I'm using this property to benefit myself, and at the same time I'm using it to benefit all of society because I grow trees on my property and I chop down the trees and I make wood out of them, or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't even matter as long as it's maintained, as long as they're taking care of their property and they're the ones that are putting in the work to maintain the property, whatever it is, whether it's a piece of land or not, whatever it is, they're the ones putting in the effort. They had to make it, they had to create it, they had to pay for it, they had to buy it, they had to put the materials together, whatever it is that they had to do to make it theirs, and they continue to make it theirs by maintaining it, and that's all that is required. And if you want land from somebody, you go to somebody who has more than they can maintain or want to maintain, or that somebody that pays somebody else to maintain it for them. Or if you don't want land yourself, you go to somebody who's maintaining more land than they can for themselves and is paying somebody else, creating opportunities for somebody else to manage that space for them and so that they can provide property to other people. You rent. You go to somebody and you buy a piece of property from them. These things don't change. We exist. It's almost as if people are saying there's no way you can have property now because property wasn't ever equitably distributed. But that's not true. It's not true because there wasn't these people didn't fill all these spaces, and there wasn't anybody to take that property from necessarily. Yeah, some Indians here and there. Yeah, some indigenous people here and there. We get that. We all understand that. But we all also understand, looking back at history, that those people also, those indigenous people, looked at that land, looked at that landscape, and they said, you know what? I have plenty of it. I'll be fine over here. You go ahead and have that piece over there, and I'll take the shiny bead I've never seen before. They were fine with it. They weren't tricked. They weren't cajoled. In some cases, yes, out in the West, in a lot of places where they forced people onto reservations as it got a little bit wilder out there. But as a general rule, that's indicative of the advance of society and culture, and the dominant society and culture at that. That's just what happens. If you don't assimilate, you get mowed over, and this is just fact. This happens with or without the state, and the only difference is that the state can codify it. The state can make it a law. The state can say it's okay that some certain group of people gets to take advantage of some other certain group of people. But in anarchy, that doesn't happen. Everybody's on the same playing field, barring physical and mental condition. And so there's no sense and there's no legal right that anyone can just randomly suggest that what is yours is now theirs, or that you're not entitled to pursue other things, to deal with other people voluntarily, through capitalism, with money, with currency. It's really sad that I should have to be telling anarchists that they have to let other anarchists be free, that even the oldest and most respected ideas of their anarchism is wonky at best, and doesn't fit with the very notion of live and let live and let other people. What are we talking about here? Tearing down institutions and putting up new institutions. What the hell is that? That's not. You don't replace cancer with cancer. I don't know who said that, but there's somebody out there who said that and has said that repeatedly in relation to government. You don't cut out government and then put in more government. That's not how you gain freedom. Let's read a little bit more and see if we can get past this property thing. Ugh. Anarchy is the destruction of misery, of super... This is all silliness. God damn it. I was afraid. This is it. Like I said, this is why I don't bother. I don't need some dusty, dead leftist who doesn't understand economics, who doesn't understand emotion and individual, the individual struggle. It's interesting to have them talk about missing the struggle for anarchy when literally the struggle for anarchy is just living life, dealing with life's misery, dealing with the things that are superstitious, dealing with hatred, things and people and situations that don't live up to your expectations, or you don't live up to theirs and they don't like it because of it. That is doing the work. Where is the disconnect here? How do you get from that 2 paragraphs ago, to this here? Where is the logical consistency? It's not in here. Therefore, every blow given to the institutions of private property and to the government, every exaltation to the conscience of man, every disruption of the present conditions, every lie unmasked, every part of human activity taken away from the control of authority, every augmentation of the spirit of solidarity and initiative is steps toward anarchy. It was actually only about half of those things. Let's do it again. Let's see. Every blow given to the institutions of private property, that's moronic, so that one's out. And to the government, well, that's literally it. It's just about no rulers. I don't know what part of anarchy the anarchist is missing here. Let's see. Every exaltation of the consciousness of man, yeah, that's a step toward anarchy, you bet. But what does that mean, consciousness of man? Well, to him, it's nobody should own anything, and everybody should be a slave to what? Some weird ideology about how life is supposed to be and pretend like there's not people in charge, because that's what happens with the socialists, the anarchist socialists, every single time. Let's see. So every disruption of the present conditions, that's stupid. That's complete ignorance. That's the thing that I mention every once in a while about not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, right? It's a silly statement, but it makes the point in anarchy that we don't throw out the things that work, like every person having the natural right to manage their own wealth in any way they see fit, the very definition of capitalism, and being able to use the things that you have at hand as capital to better your life, to better the world around you, to make more money, to make more wealth, to hire other people to do things for you, to get them more wealthy. This contradiction it causes a schism in my brain, and it makes me want to take a baseball bat to something, and it's usually the knees of some socialist, but I just never do because I'm not that angry. It's so frustrating, and you know that that's the kind of anger and frustration that it is, that you know there's nothing you can do about it, that you can sit here with every tool and every reality and every truth in front of you, and you can speak it, and you can say it, and you can shine a great big light on it, and people can still walk past it and ignore it in favor of political ideology. And when I say political ideology, I'm talking about, as much as anything, capitalism and anti-capitalism. Those are political ideologies, because capitalism is the only word, it is the only system through which every single individual has the right to determine their own wealth. It's the only thing in history that we've ever come up with that does that. It's not the free market. The free market is a place where you practice capitalism, where you exchange your wealth. That's not it. It's not about fake words like agorism. It's not about made-up ideologies like anti-economics or counter-economics. Counter-economy, maybe. The idea that you can do things to counter the way the current economy is being run, but that's not counter-economics. Counter-economics is nonsense. It's literally going against nature, and that's the kind of nonsense that you get out of these sort of weird leftists. And you understand why all these years I bragged about the fact that I've never read any of this crap. Who needs this to tell them let's see, how much more of this was wrong? So every disruption of present conditions, stupid, completely stupid. There are many, many things that work, and I talk about it all the time, how the fact is that we've made this work in spite of the system, that we get along just fine, generally speaking, down here on the ground every single day, and that includes using capitalism, that includes owning private property, that includes all of those things that exist outside of the government that have just been taken over by government. They've not been replaced. They've not been made better. They've just been taken over so the government gets its cut. Just like I was talking about in the last hour. The only reason they passed this Bitcoin or this cryptocurrency legislation is so that they can get rules and regulations in there so that they can make money, because that's what rules and regulations are for when the system is too big. It's about making them money. It's not about making sure people don't do things and that people aren't harmed. It's about making sure that the state gets paid when people don't do things that do things that the state says you're not supposed to do. That's all that's about. If you think it's about anything else, you haven't been paying attention for the last 400 goddamn years. Seriously. Let's see. What else was there? Every lie unmasked. It'll never happen. It's just silly. It's extremes. It's absurdity, right? It's taking a natural state of reality and placing all sorts of weird conditions on it that not 3 paragraphs ago they were saying shouldn't exist on it. Did I misread the first paragraphs? I didn't. They're saying that there's lazy people out here that do this, and that's the reason why we can't have these things. But we can't have these things because, we have to have lazy people, and we have to take care of them, and they have to have their cut too, and they have to have everything, or we're just forgetting everybody. And that's not anarchism. That's socialism. That's manipulation. That's you think you know better than the next person about how he should live his life. You think that it's okay to say, no, you can't do this in the marketplace, even though it's completely voluntary and it's completely within the realm of non-coercive, non-destructive activity. You're telling me that I can't practice capitalism because some people use their money for things that you don't like? You're full of it. You're full of it, and you're going completely against the very nature of reality. Capitalism is the nature of reality if we're talking about free individual people who get to make their own choices. Let's see. Every augmentation of the spirit of solidarity and initiative. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we want to encourage solidarity and for people to take initiative, just not, in making too much money. We wouldn't want them to make any more money than that guy over there, because then that guy might feel a little bit bad that he doesn't have as much money. he can't buy as many things. Do you not see where this is going? This is why anarchy will never work for the reality of it. It is because of people like this. This is an amazing article, and I'm glad that I decided to go ahead and read it, because it is the garbage that is supposedly anarchist philosophy, and at least at the core of what some anarchists believe. And it is just utter nonsense. Oh my God. It's so weird to agree with so much and disagree with almost everything at the same time. The problem lies in knowing how to choose the road that really approaches the realization of the ideal, and in not confusing the real progress with hypocritical reforms. Isn't that what you just got through saying was going to happen? Hypocritical reforms would be telling people that they don't have the right to make their own wealth and control their own wealth. This is so weird. Am I real? Like, things are, I pinch myself. Things are still going on. I think my wife's home at this point. It's about time to wrap this thing up. We get a couple more minutes. I think I'm still real and still here. This is not some weird place or space that I'm stuck in that doesn't exist. This is happening. This contradictory, nonsensical, economically ignorant crap is actually being told, and has been being told since 1899. It's a good thing that I have spent the last 6 years going through and putting Toward Anarchy, as I express it, on the map, as opposed to this nonsense, because this right here, I wouldn't want this. This is no better than government. I would just take your government and have the government that you have. That's what I started to say earlier about this dumb question that was asked about me about whether I would quit this job or not, of this government. I'm in it right here, right now. I'm completely living an anarchist life within this goofy little system that you're talking about, and they make all sorts of rules and conditions under which I live, and I choose to ignore every single one of them almost on a daily basis. So your question was dumb. And it's this kind of dumb question, and defending this dumb question, and you just know where they're going when they talk about, oh, if they'd make some rules that you don't follow. They're going on the they're going down this path that the ruling system isn't working for the people anymore, that it's working for itself, or that it will always work for itself. It's exposing that very fact, suggesting that when you put a bunch of people together, whether they call themselves anarchists or not, and you dictate to other people what they can and can't do with their own health and their own wealth, then you're not any different. You're just doing the same thing over and over again. This is just another attempt by liberals and leftists, and not the good liberals, not the classic liberals, not the guys that come up with the things like this. This was a really great quote that I seen today, and I don't know any of these guys. I don't know who this guy was. William Graham Sumner, I've heard of his name before. I didn't know that he was this sort of classic teacher, classical liberal, that sort of thing, but he had this great quote. And this is just a little bit trimmed, just squeezed a little bit out of it, that just sort of clarifies these positions. But it's very, very simple, and it goes along with everything that I've been talking about today. Gentlemen, the time is coming when there will be two great classes, socialists and anarchists. The anarchists want government to be nothing, and the socialists want government to be everything. And when the time comes, I am an anarchist. And the problem with the idea that the anarchists are going to replace the existing system, they're going to tear down the existing system and replace it with something, is just that very fact that they're going to replace it with something. That they think that they have the right to tear it down. That they believe that they can, that their vision of the way people should live their lives should be forced on everybody else, and that there should be no systems. That's wrong. This guy has it right about the steps, the individual steps, but the picture that he paints as to what will go away through those individual steps is completely just it's wrong. It doesn't fit with reality, and it doesn't support reality. It's not that he doesn't even picture reality. It's that he doesn't even support reality as it is and contradicts himself from one sentence to the next, which is sad. You can't do that in writing. You can't write something, your little treatise, whatever it is, and contradict yourself in every other sentence and expect somebody to believe in your ideology. It's very hard for me to even want to read the rest of this. We literally only made it about maybe a third of the way through it before it fell apart, before it turned into something other than reality and went down this path of imagining that people's feelings and that equality is derived through the abolition of things that actually function in reality and work in reality. When you take away the government layer, there's still people who are going to say, you know what, me and my buddies would like to take our capital, our assets that we gained through our knowledge and our experience and our skills and combine them together to create a business and an industry and a product and a service and offer that to people. And we're going to create a corporation because the corporation is the legal protection between us. It's the illegal agreement between us as partners on how we're going to manage and create this business and try to provide a good business to the company, to the community, so that we can continue to have a business and provide for the community to ultimately to curate their property and to do what they do with their property to make themselves and the community a better place without it being told to them that it has to be done a certain way. And I just don't know how many more ways I can say it, and I don't even have the time to do it anymore this week. I've got to go. We'll see you next week here on Toward Anarchy. Take care.
You lack imagination, Destro. We possess the ultimate weapon of control. People trust television. It's their friend. They believe what television tells them about the news, the weather. Don't you see? We control the creation of truth.
You're listening to Toward Anarchy on the Republic Broadcasting Network.